Sean Shanker. I own Fighting Spirit Karate, run Fighting Spirit Karate, and I'm a martial arts teacher. I've been doing that for many years, but the dojo's been open for 9, but I've been training since I'm 5. Well, I was really into Bruce Lee, and if you probably read any martial arts interview, probably 99% of the people in the world say that, so it's nothing original there. But got really turned on to Bruce Lee when I was young. My father kind of turned me on to that, but I had some hand-eye coordination stuff when I was young. Like I couldn't hit a baseball, had real trouble catching, and I was a little bit of a wise guy even though when I was little. And my father thought that martial arts would be great for hand-eye coordination, mostly for other sports, not necessarily just for defense or anything like that. And I kind of went into a dojo, and really first time I went, I was petrified. I think a few months later we went back, and that was it. Took my first class, and so it really came from my father. It just happened to work. I think that from a Kyokushin standpoint, Kyokushin itself meaning ultimate truth. Okay, so philosophically, I feel like that's such an individual statement, right? It's like my ultimate truth in martial arts and life, because they somewhat mirror each other, or should, right, is different than anybody else's. But it's like we're still seeking to find it, right? Whatever your ultimate truth, whatever that means in terms of how you live your life, how you treat people, the relationships you have. I feel like that's something that's very individual, but is very pure to Kyokushin and makes sense to me as a person. As far as the kind of philosophical point of the fighting, which sort of forward motion, well, you know what? I've applied that in my life, philosophical life, forever. I mean, good and bad. A good moment, a triumphant moment in your life, that leads you to the next doorway, right? Or you've had a failure in life, it still leads you to the next doorway. It's the people that kind of stop and say, okay, well, I'm plateauing and I can't move on. That's not Kyokushin. It's like, no, my leg might be broken, so I might have lost my job, or whatever it might be. Kyokushin sort of has set forward in me just the idea of you put your head up, you take a deep breath, you put your chest out, train hard, and you move forward, no matter what. And I think that's a good life philosophy. As far as the turtle goes, which has significance to me in terms of fighting spirit, well, I think I told you a little bit about fighting spirit, so I don't think I'll dwell on that again, but I think we kind of talked about that. But the turtle part of it, a connection to my father, which I have deep connection because he turned me on to martial arts. But the turtle itself to me has been so representative of my growth as a human being and as a teacher and as a martial artist, but sort of the way I'd like my students to approach learning, in that, it's a very long road and it's hard, but the turtle sort of symbolizes that slow path. The other piece with the turtle is, again, been around since the dinosaurs and still here. One of the only, really living dinosaurs, so it's like there's something in that from the self-protection standpoint that makes sense martially. And I think that in a day and age where so many people get things coming at them so fast, and kids have access to so many things, and they want their answer and they get it in 30 seconds. Martial arts shouldn't be like that. There's a time in and result, and I kind of feel like that's sort of the philosophical stance. In terms of challenges, it's difficult to do in a modern day. When students and kids, especially even parents, are kind of bombarded with the idea that I have these phones and I can get an answer on anything tomorrow, so why can't my kid have a black belt in a year? Why can't, or whatever it might be. So I think I'm constantly trying to hold on to this idea and ideal of tradition, but we live in a world that values that less and less and less. And then in terms of just other challenges with sort of implementing my philosophy through our martial arts, is that our classes are big. We have very, very large classes all across the board, hundreds of kids. I want to get into FSK. I've heard you're so great, blah, blah, which is awesome. The word on the street is great, but I still have to be effective on that mat. And for that 30th kid or the kid that's been with me for 3 years, they deserve equal amount of time and energy and attention. But now we only have 45 minutes, of this class to do it. So it's a challenge. I think I'm very blessed in the fact that I think that there are people who have to work jobs in their life that they can't stand, and still have to do it because it supports their family, and they do it because that's honorable, and I respect it. But I'm very lucky I get to do something I really love, that I feel like it makes a big impact on people, kids and their families. So, for example, I think that one, if you're just looking from a standpoint of like health, I'm helping kids be healthy. I'm helping them have an idea of how to move their bodies, sweat, and that it's okay to work through pain and push their bodies. I think that's healthy for them in terms of how they, physical health. I think mentally, we're helping them look at triumph and failure as part of being a human being. That doesn't mean you're better or worse than anybody else. It's part of the human condition. Winning and losing are part of it, and if you learn how to accept both gracefully, life is a lot easier, and you're going to do that through the rest of your life. So, but then I think on other terms, I would say that, I'm very lucky in the fact that when a student comes in and their parent fills out the waiver form and then they fill out the membership form, which asks questions about why did you bring your kid here? Perseverance, balance, discipline, focus, coordination, self-defense, whatever it might be, 99% of the time, it has to do with those cerebral things. I want my kid to have confidence. I want them to believe in themselves. It's very, very rarely that the parent comes in, I want my son and daughter to be able to beat the crap out of somebody else. That's really not what they come to me for. And because I'm the teacher and I have hundreds of kids and hundreds of adult students, not hundreds, but a lot of adult students, I get a lot of background on a student before they come in. It's not information I can share, so I won't say, hey, this person has this, but I'm privy to a lot of background knowledge of a kid. So you might see a student on the mat who, wow, Joey can't sit still, but maybe I know why. Maybe Joey has some physical stuff that nobody else knows, or that he's been labeled by a doctor or I have a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors, occupational therapists, physical therapists, that we are the first we're the first place in the community that's recommended to parents for their kids to come. And it's not because those people are sitting there because, hey, we want them to go learn how to beat somebody up. So there must be something else emotionally, physically, and as a community, that we're doing for kids that they think we're going to make things better. So that feels great, and I do feel like, I have lots of parents that say to me, wow, Sensei, you have no idea, how much the dojo affects your students outside of the dojo, things you don't even hear about. For example, a very, very simple example, not that this is like super big effect in community, but, I had a student who said, they were having some issues with the student at home, but the student's perfect here, and then they started to say, hey, when you're at home, what would Sensei Sean say if you were acting that way? What would Sensei Sean say? Or when you're at home, isn't that your dojo? You wouldn't act this way when you bow onto your mat. Why would you act that way when you bow into your house? So simple things like that. And then from a bigger standpoint, we do a lot of big community events. So, we've been involved in so many charities and different things like that, where I do feel like we're sort of a pillar of the community about learning sort of relationships and how to feel good about yourself and how to feel good about interacting with other people. That you're practicing it, practice it! I see Jack.
I grabbed the bag and said, it's gotta get the name.